Hey guys, Esperano here with another Galcon 2 modding tutorial. Today I'm going to be recreating Pong within the Galcon 2 engine. Should help you familiarize yourself with some of the modding API functions and properties. So I've got my Lua IDE open. I use Dakota again. As mentioned in the initial single player tutorial, you can access that by going to galcon.com/g2/wiki and by navigating to the simple single player tutorial. Right now I'm going to cheat a little bit and use some of the functions and code from the initial tutorial to speed up the process of creating Pong, and also because, I'm sure you don't want to sit through the same thing twice. So I'm going to remove all the stuff that we probably won't need. None of this stuff, no loop code, and we won't need bot loop, and that should be good. Okay, so I'm going to decrease the size of the screen a little bit for Pong, maybe make it 400 by 300. What I'm basically planning for this mod is that you'll be versing a computer. The computer never loses, they just play perfectly, and you see how many rounds you can last. And maybe you'll have like a score that's proportional to the number of volleys or something like that. So we can get rid of init win because you won't be winning, just losing. And since we're not actually playing the game, we're creating a game like Pong within the Galcon 2 engine. We're going to use scene. It's great for rendering pictures and stuff, and pictures and animations and such. Let me save this actually. Okay. Now, first we want to create our ball and our two paddles on the left and right. So I'm just going to do g2.new circle. The API for this is, of course, if you want to check it, just go to the API, navigate to g2.circle, or just search it here. You'll see that we need a color, X, Y, and R. So I'm going to make it white, make it halfway across the screen, halfway down the screen, and I don't know, a radius of 5 should be good, I guess. And let's make the left paddle. This is just going to be an image. There's a default image named white in the Galcon 2 data folder currently. It's just good for making like a little, like a blank rectangle. Then we need an X and a Y, and a width and height, so 10 and 50 should be good. Now the problem right now is that the top left corner will be 10 and global.sh/2, and we actually want the center to be at that point. It'll just make our calculations a little bit easier. So you can do lpaddle.image.cx to change the registration point of the center of the image. So we can make that 5 and do the same thing for Y. Make that 25, that's half of this value. Right. And let's create our other paddle. And we'll have it on the other side of the screen. Okay. That looks good. Let's actually just test that out. We'll go into Galcon, load it up. Okay, that's pretty good so far. Now let's set the ball moving and set the other paddle in line with the ball. It'll like follow the ball. So we need a velocity for the ball. So ball vx equals 10, vy equals, I don't know, 5. That looks good. And here we'll update the position of the ball. We'll do the same thing for the Y position. Okay. And we'll also make the other paddle follow the ball. Okay. Now let's try that again. Great. And we also need to make the ball bounce off of the sides. So let's do the top first. If this ball position y is less than 10, then ball Vy equals negative ball Vy. The other condition is, or if it's greater than 10 from the bottom, that'll be global.sh minus 10. Okay, and we also need to detect if it hits the paddles and then make it bounce. We're going to do it this way. If it is greater than our paddle position x, then vx equals negative ball.vx. Okay, great. That's for the right paddle. We still have to do our paddle. So this is a little bit trickier. I have to make sure to avoid a couple bugs. First of all, we want to make sure the ball is actually moving left, because otherwise we could run into a couple tricky bugs. So if ball.vx ball vx is less than 0 and ball.position x is less than 10, let's say. No, let's make it 0. And it also has to actually be hitting the paddle, so we have to make sure it's within 25 pixels of the center of our paddle. So we can just do it like this. Okay. Less than 25, because that is half of the height of our paddle. It's up here. That should be good, so let's see what happens. Very good. A little buggy. That's actually just because we haven't had losing conditions yet. That'll be fixed as soon as we make the game over after the ball passes, like, I don't know, around here. Okay, so what else do we need? Let's enable us to move our paddle. So if e.type equals UI motion. UI motion is just another default type of event type. This is for when the mouse is currently held down and you're like dragging along the screen. Another one we could do is if you just click, that's a UI down. That's the name of the event for clicking, or for rather just when you actually first press. Then we want to update our paddle position. E.y is the Y position of the motion or click event. E is just fed automatically by the Galcon 2 engine. So then, now we should be able to play a little bit. Great. Ball's actually bouncing behind our paddles. Let's give them a little bit of leeway. Minus 10 here, and let's say, I don't know, 10 here. Let's see if that works. That looks a little better, I guess. Okay. Now let's have losing conditions. If the ball's gone too far, it's less than 0, let's say, then we want to end the game. Init lose. This is a function is already implemented because we copied and pasted code. Okay, so now we should have a working Pong game. We can pause. Oops. We can pause and start and try a new game. And if it goes past, we lose. Great. Let's keep score. First, we're going to create a score variable, and then have a score label so we can display the score. Say score and then score. Let's have it halfway across the screen, and maybe 10 from the top. And then down here, every time it bounces off of our paddle, we'll update the score. We can't do that here. Plus 10. And we'll update the score label here, of course. Label text, you can just, is the way to access the label's text. Pretty self-explanatory, I guess. Equals score plus the actual score. So now we should see it go up. Great. Looks good. And that's about it. I mean, we can add a couple finishing touches, like maybe let's have it like a tick every time the ball hits one of the paddles. And let's play some music too. So up here we can do g2.play music. We have a bit of music to choose from. Anything that's by default in this folder would work. I think there's some, maybe like music play 1 is pretty good. Alright, that's how we do that. And then we'll also do g2.play sound every time it hits one of the paddles. So that's here, play sound instead. And we're going to do SFX hit. That's actually the sound a ship makes when it hits a planet, but whatever. It's good enough. And now, when we play, great, now we have sound effects. And I think that's all that we really need. Great. Maybe one more thing we could do before we end is make this a little harder. We'll have the ball bounce off randomly every time it hits a paddle. So we'll do ball Vy equals 10 times math.random minus 0.5. So that'll give us a random Vy value between -5 and 5. So it should be a little tricky. What'd I do? Ah, 10 times. Okay. Yep, now it's a little harder. Great. Okay, this has been the making of Pong in the Galcon 2 engine. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. And take care.